draft coming up here as well. There's a look at some teams that could use a steady hand at quarterback, at least if not this season, but certainly for the future. Bucs, Saints, and Washington Commanders among those as well. Back here with David Carr and LaDainian Tomlinson. Let's start, though, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talked a little bit about them at the top of the show, and now as we get to their plans here at quarterback, we know they have Mason Rudolph here, which I feel like is a great luxury for them to have, a proven commodity. He's won some games for them.
Yep.
But what should they do at quarterback this year and then moving forward here, DC?
Well, I think that when it comes to the Steelers, you almost have to trust Mike Tomlin because he's been doing this for a long time. He's been very successful. And when I hear him come out and say he doesn't want to go to a veteran quarterback, he feels like he can put in a young guy and win, I believe him. I'm gonna go with that. So I'm going to say there's a kid, pick it, right in your backyard, right?
Yes,
if
sir.
you have a
Can
chance
you
to
pick
get him, okay, go ahead and try and draft that kid. What I saw on film is a guy that is very poised in the pocket. He's got plenty of arm strength. He looks like he fits very well in that stadium, some of the games that I've seen.
Played there a few times.
So, and if you can't get him, there are other guys out there. There are young players out there that you can plug into this system with a veteran defense and some good players and play good football. And think about it, when you have a young quarterback, he's pretty cheap, Rhett. I think that's what I always look at, is if you feel like you have a team that you can plug in one of these young guys and kind of build around him with a good defense, a la what they did with Ben Roethlisberger at the beginning of his career, then I think that you can go that route and not have to break the bank for a quarterback that you may not be able to get that's out there in Fantasyland somewhere.
Yeah, I completely get that. And as I digest what Kevin Colbert said, guys, he said if the season started today, Mason Rudolph would be our quarterback. Well, we haven't had the draft yet, so I think that kind of means he might be leaning toward a young quarterback, to DC's point. Now, I would caution that, just me, because I look at this draft class and I just don't see a quarterback that's, a franchise guy. Now, could Kenny Pickett develop into that guy? Yes, he could. But they picked 20th, and I don't think he's going to be available at 20th. So now we're talking about Malik Willis or Matt Corral, one of those guys. And are you willing to draft one of those guys at 20 and make him your franchise guy and try to win with one of those guys, especially with the class coming up in 2 years, a solid, deep quarterback class that's going to be coming up? I think I roll with Mason Rudolph, guys. I think I roll with Mason Rudolph for a year and try to play good defense, play solid football, and maybe draft a quarterback in 2 years when I know that class is going to be very deep.
And look, that's a part of the process, right? I mean, it's not foreign to these evaluators what's coming up on the horizon beyond this year's class. Right. I did find it interesting. Our lead draft analyst, Daniel Jeremiah, with me today on the Move the Sticks show and podcast, said that there is building word on the street that Pittsburgh is infatuated with Liberty's Malik Willis. Just something.
Look at Lamar Jackson in that division, what he's done, right? So you got a big, physical, strong. He's got some big-time arm strength as well. So talk about athleticism, what you can build around for sure.
No doubt. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers used a high-value draft resource just this last year to get a quarterback in the second round, and Kyle Trask was the sixth quarterback taken. This year they've also had Blaine Gabbert, who's a free agent now, but has been with them for the last few years as a backup. LT, with Tom Brady gone, what do the Bucs do at QB here in 2022?
Well, that's the question of the day, right? And I think when you look at the system that they play in, I believe you have to go out and find someone in free agency or maybe trade for someone like Jimmy G. He's played pretty good. In that type of offense where you got to make quick decisions, you don't necessarily have to throw the ball down the field all the time. And think about if he's able to go there and get Chris Godwin back. We saw the connection that Brady had with Godwin in those intermediate areas. I think Jimmy G excels in those areas of the football field, throwing the football in those areas. And I think if he's able to go to Tampa, I think he can easily win that starting job because we haven't heard much about Kyle Trask, who I thought might have been, a great replacement for a guy like Tom Brady, having sit there and learned a lot from Tom Brady. But we haven't heard much, which makes me think that they're going to go out and get someone else.
So wait, in that scenario, does Tom Brady come out of retirement, go to San Francisco for a year? Is that what we're saying?
Let's
here?
just make it happen.
Okay.
Wouldn't everybody love that? That'd be fantastic. I would love that. But anyway, so I think with the Bucs, the issue is what LT brought up is if you don't go out and try and make something happen in free agency, you're going to lose Chris Godwin. He's not coming back, right? Mike Evans is going to be upset. if you bring in a guy or you go with one of the guys that are already there. They're not going to be happy. You know, Antonio Brown was effective in this year's system. He's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Rob Gronkowski, I mean, this team is going to look completely different if you don't make a drastic move at quarterback. Now, if you're happy just going with the guys that you have, maybe draft another kid. I know you drafted one last year, but if you're happy with what you have, then you better be happy being average, because that's probably what's going to happen with Tampa Bay Bucks if you don't make something serious happen because you just are trying to replace the GOAT. That's not an easy thing.
LT, Saints have some continuity at head coach in promoting Dennis Allen to take over for Sean Payton, but do they have transition at quarterback, having seen Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill for the most part last year?
Well, look, they brought back Pete Carmichael, who has been a staple, obviously, in that system, you know, learning from, you know, obviously, you know, the head coach there. And so I think, you know, at the end of the day, you got to bring back Jameis. I mean, he's been familiar with Jameis. He's worked with Jameis. And I know Pete Carmichael. He has great relationships with his quarterbacks and worked very well with those guys. And since he already understands Taysom Hill, you know, and Jameis Winston and guys like that, I think it just makes total sense that you bring him back into the fold and see what you have in Jameis and Taysom operating together. Because I don't believe Taysom is a full-time quarterback, but I certainly believe in the packages that they have for him. You know, he excels in those situations. And again, Pete Carmichael is an excellent coach. He's developed into that role, obviously being around a lot of great coaches. And I'm excited to see him continue. And maybe one day he becomes the head coach there.
Let's move to the Washington Commanders, who have kind of pieced together their quarterback situation since Ron Rivera has taken over as head coach 2 years ago. DC, what do you see the Commanders plan here in 2022?
Yeah, you know, for me, I think they're a veteran quarterback away from being a playoff team, possible a Super Bowl contender. Really think that I like their defensive front. I like what they have there. And I really like the pieces that they have on the offensive side of the ball. I love their running back. I love some of their young wide receivers. Russell Wilson makes so much sense to me in this situation that I can't even express it enough. I feel like he wants out of Seattle, and Seattle doesn't really appreciate him. The things that I hear coming out of Seattle are mind-blowing to me. When they talk about that they feel like they would be a better team, I hear some crazy things out of Seattle, okay? So I think that it's time. I know they've already tried to replace him. I know that he's tried to get out. Let's just make it happen. Let's just find a home for him in Washington, right? Get him out there with Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron. Let him go cook with these guys, these talented guys that they have on the outside, and let him play with that good, solid defense. I really like them in Washington, battling the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think their rookie receiver a year ago, Diami Brown, who can really go, would love running under one of those moon balls from
Russell
Wilson
Can't wait to see
in the deep shots. All right, guys, good work there.